Welcome back. If you're looking to get up to speed on really important stuff, fast, you're in the right place. Today, we're diving deep into something serious happening underwater.
Yeah, we're talking about stony coral tissue loss disease, SCTLD for short. It's really hammering coral reefs across the Caribbean.
Hammering seemed like the right word. So, our mission today is to unpack this based on the research. Where did it start? How is it spreading like this? And what's the actual damage?
Exactly. And the reason it's so concerning is just how fast it moves and, frankly, how deadly it is. We haven't quite seen a coral disease behave like this before.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Ground zero. Where did this thing first pop up?
It seems to have first emerged near Miami, Florida. That was back in the fall of 2014.
2014. And did they know what it was right away?
Not exactly. At
Hmm.
first, there was some thought it might be, similar to other known coral diseases like white plague, but it quickly became apparent this was something different, something, well, much more aggressive.
And it spread quickly from there.
Oh, yeah. It moved rapidly through the Florida Reef Tract, like wildfire, really.
So the big question, what is it? What's causing this? Is it pollution or...
That's still the multi-million-dollar question.
Mhm.
Researchers are working hard on it. The evidence strongly points towards an infectious agent, a pathogen, probably bacterial, maybe viral, maybe both.
A pathogen? What makes them think that?
Well, one clue is that applying antibiotics, like an amoxicillin paste, directly to lesions can sometimes slow or stop the spread on an individual coral. That suggests bacteria are involved somehow.
Interesting. Any specific bacteria they've zeroed in on?
They found certain groups, genera like Flavobacteriales, Vibrio, Rhodobacterales, consistently associated with the diseased tissue. But proving direct causation is tricky.
Right. It could just be opportunistic bacteria moving in.
Precisely. Although there was a really interesting study in 2023 looking at probiotics. They found bacteria, Pseudoalteromonas, on corals that seemed resistant, and they're exploring if that could be used as a treatment.
A probiotic for corals. That's fascinating. Okay, what about the virus angle?
That's being looked at too. Some studies have detected viral particles within the coral symbiotic algae, zooxanthellae. And there was another study, I think, to 2021, suggesting SCTLD might trigger the coral to actually digest its own symbionts, kind of a self-destruction pathway.
Wow, that's grim. So how does it physically spread between corals?
It seems to spread through direct contact, coral to coral, but also just through the water itself. That definitely points to an infectious agent being carried in the water column.
Okay, so it's complex, maybe not just one bug causing it all.
Very likely. It could be a tag team effort between bacteria and viruses, or maybe different microbes kick things off versus making them worse. The investigation is definitely ongoing.
All right, so there's this infectious agent, but are other factors making corals more vulnerable? Environmental stress, maybe?
Absolutely. Think of it like having a weakened immune system.
Yeah.
Corals stressed by warming oceans, pollution, runoff causing cloudy water, poor water quality. Generally, they seem to be much more susceptible.
And climate change is just making all of that worse, I imagine.
It really is. It exacerbates the thermal stress and can influence water quality issues too. It sort of primes the pump for disease.
Are human activities helping it travel? Like boats?
That's a major suspect, maritime traffic. Things like ballast water discharge. Water taken on in one port and released in another could potentially transport the pathogen.
Right, carrying it across long distances.
Exactly. And also biofouling, where organisms grow on ship hulls. That could be another way. There was a 2021 study suggesting ballast water could explain how SCTLD popped up in the Bahamas near major ports, potentially moving against prevailing currents.
So ships could be acting like taxis for this disease.
That's the concern. They've even simulated transmission in lab settings using water meant to mimic ballast water and things like coastal dredging, stirring up sediment. That's another stressor that might also help move the pathogen around.
Didn't the timing of the Miami outbreak coincide with some dredging?
Yes, there's a hypothesis linking the initial 2014 outbreak near Miami to a major port expansion and dredging project happening around that time. Stress plus potential transport.
Okay, so it started in Florida, but it sounds like it's gone way beyond that now. How far has it spread?
It spread incredibly fast. Since 2014, it's been confirmed in, I think, over 20 Caribbean countries and territories. Some reports say maybe even up to 33 now.
That's staggering. Can you give us a few examples?
Sure. After Florida, it hit the U.S. Virgin Islands, Jamaica, and the Mexican Caribbean pretty hard around early 2019. Honduras reported it in late 2020. More recently, places like Curacao and Bonaire confirmed outbreaks in 2023.
Wow. Is there a clear pattern, like following currents?
Generally, yeah. It seems to have moved mostly south and east from Florida, which fits with general current patterns and potentially shipping roads. But there are anomalies. On Roatan in Honduras, it apparently spread faster on the windward side.
Huh, that's interesting. Any other odd patterns?
Well, in the Florida Keys, somewhat counterintuitively, some offshore reefs got hit before the nearshore ones. So it's not just simple current drift. Other factors are definitely involved.
And when it hits a reef, what's the impact like? How fast does it kill?
It's devastatingly fast. The tissue loss lesions spread rapidly, and infected corals can die within weeks to months, not years.
Weeks to months, that's incredibly quick.
It is. And mortality rates are frighteningly high. For the susceptible species, we're talking 66% to sometimes 100% mortality.
Oh my gosh, any specific examples of that kind of devastation?
St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands reportedly lost up to 50% of its total coral cover within about a year of the disease arriving. In Honduras, it was documented affecting at least 28 different hard coral species quite aggressively.
And that changes the whole reef structure.
Completely. You see declines in important things like encrusting algae, and instead you get increases in less desirable things like fire coral, cyanobacteria mats, and fleshy macroalgae taking over the space. The whole ecosystem shifts.
You mentioned susceptible species. Are some corals hit harder than others?
Definitely. There's a clear hierarchy of susceptibility. Over 22 species are known to be affected, maybe over 30 now.
Which ones are in the most danger?
The highly susceptible ones include pillar coral, which was already threatened, elliptical star coral, smooth flower coral, and several important brain corals like Meandrina and Diploria. Massive star corals like Colpophilia and Orbicella are also hit hard.
Are any corals safe?
Well, the good news, relatively speaking, is that the acroporids, the elkhorn and staghorn corals, which have faced their own massive declines from other issues, seem to be largely immune or resistant to SCTLD.
That's something, I guess, but still a huge range of corals getting hit.
Yes, and there's even variability within species. It's a very complex picture.
So putting it all together, this is undeniably a major ecological crisis for the Caribbean.
It really is. SCTLD is a huge threat, not just to the biodiversity of these amazing ecosystems, but also to the coastal economies, fishing, tourism that rely heavily on healthy reefs.
What needs to happen now?
We desperately need more research to nail down the exact cause or causes and find effective large-scale treatments or prevention methods. And crucially, we need to address those background stressors.
Like climate change and water quality.
Exactly. Reducing pollution, managing coastal development, and tackling climate change are all part of making reefs more resilient. And international collaboration is key. This disease doesn't respect borders.
It's a daunting challenge. It makes you wonder, given all this complexity, the different ways corals react, the potential mist of causes, what hidden factors might still be out there influencing how SCTLD spreads and how severe it gets? And how do we figure those out before more of these vital underwater cities are lost?